So, my uncle has a drug problem. My cousin's in jail for drugs. My coworker hides her drug addiction. And this is only my life and the people I know that do drugs. Do we really want to put drugs out on the street to be legalized? Does legalizing drugs just seem to be the easy way out, and is that what we want to do? I mean, well, let's take a moment and think about your daughter, your son, your niece, your friend. Do you want to just hand over drugs to them? 6% of people 12 and older in America use drugs on a regular basis. 90% of those who have used illegal drugs use marijuana or hash. Approximately a third used cocaine and took a prescription type drug for a non-medical reason. About a fifth used LSD. Fortunately, nearly 60 million Americans who used illicit drugs when they were children deny it as adults. Does this mean that we just want to start giving drugs to kids and hoping that when they're adults they'll just reject it? Americans that are not drug users think that drugs are not their problem, but that is the problem with the drug problem. Americans are misled thinking that drug users belong to an outcast of society different from their own, or that drug abuse is remote from their environment. They are wrong. Almost 3/4 of drug users are employed. So are we just naive to think that drugs are only used by poor homeless people? In 1995, 1.5 million Americans were cocaine users. This is a huge decline from 1985. So we know that we are making some progress for the better. I feel like we need to keep up the hard work and keep cocaine not legalized. Over 600,000 people are addicted to heroin. This is a huge high, and we need to do our part to lower that. But if you really think about it, that is not many compared to the whole world. So just think, if we legalize this drug, how many people would be addicts of heroin? This drug is highly addictive. In 1995, an estimated 9.8 million Americans, 77% of all current illicit drug users, were smokers of marijuana, making it the most commonly used illicit drug. Approximately 57% of current illicit drug users limit consumption exclusively to just marijuana. Marijuana is a drug that young adults feel is safe, and what we need to relate to adults and children is that marijuana is a gateway drug for worse and addicting drugs. Looking at research, I found the percent of children that use marijuana increases every year. If we legalize drugs, this will be even higher. Right now, the percent is only about 10%, but if we legalize drugs, this number will increase. While researching, I found a website called 12 Reasons to Legalize Drugs. One of the reasons was it will make streets and homes safer. Honestly, if you think about that reason, it's unrealistic. Do you really think that if you let anyone and everyone have drugs that our streets will be safer? If people are all over the streets with drugs in their system, we will not have any control of their responses and their attitudes to the drug. Another reason they say we should legalize drugs is so that prisons will not be overcrowded with drug dealers and abusers. To be honest, I'm not concerned with the fact that prisons are overcrowded. If you do the crime, you do the time. And if you legalize drugs, we really think that will uncrowd the prisoners, or will it crowd them back up with people who do not do drugs legally and get into trouble for killing others or other crimes? Do people not realize that people commit crimes because they're on drugs in the first place? Or most of them anyways. People say that if we legalize drugs, drug users will lose interest and it will decrease of the drugs. Past experience shows this is not true. Did alcohol use decrease when it was legalized? No. When abortion became legal, did abortions decrease? No. When an action becomes legal, the number of people carrying out that action increases. Drugs are not going to be different. Even if some drugs are made legal, people will still be drawn to the more illegal drugs, and dealers and makers will come up with more drugs, just starting the circle all over again. Last but definitely not least, I'd like to talk about how drugs are the beginning of so many other crimes. When someone is robbing a store, raping someone, or just getting into a fight, 8% of those people are on drugs. This is way too high to say that it would be okay to legalize drugs. We have to think about what happens to these people when they are on drugs. So if it was legal, they're able to do it and they're going to commit the crimes anyways. So in conclusion, tell me another reason why we should legalize drugs that doesn't end up really being the reason to not legalize them. Drugs are the beginning of so many other crimes and unfortunate activities. I don't believe that there is any reason to legalize drugs that will enhance society or make things better in our country. I do not feel comfortable handing drugs to my loved ones and just hoping they reject them as adults. So you tell me, do you want to legalize drugs for your children and grandchildren to buy? It doesn't sound like a good idea.